Sasquatch Theory. In today's episode, I'm going to read some Bigfoot emails that were submitted to the channel. It's been hard lately just because of the videos that I'm editing and all the phone calls that I'm doing. A lot of times, the phone calls that I do originate from the Bigfoot emails that are submitted to the channel. If I read a story that I really like, I'll contact that person and see if they want to come on the show. But after they come on the show, I don't really see a need to necessarily read their email, just because it's going to be the same story twice, just in a different format. So a lot of times I'll just save that email. But everyone that's submitted an email is probably wondering, why isn't he reading my emails? What's going on? Is he just throwing this stuff away? No, I'm logging everything that everyone sends to me, as far as an experience, an encounter, things that people find. Everything's being logged down. Just things have been really tough lately just because I've had a lot on my plate with the membership channel. Lately I just studied for the drone license and took the test and actually passed. And like I said, the videos, the research, phone calls, keeping up with everybody. It's just difficult, but I want the people who submitted their emails to know that your voice will be heard, and it has been heard. I've read every email, and a lot of times maybe I don't reply. Just know that I did read it. But today I'm here to read some Bigfoot emails for you guys, and I'm not trying to copy off of anybody else's channel. I know I've read emails out in the woods in the past and people were saying that I was copying Steve from How to Hunt, but no, I'm not copying his channel. It's a really good channel, but I think that's just something that YouTubers do. People will send you things in the comments and emails, and you're supposed to reply to that, talk to your viewers, and that's just a YouTube thing. So nobody owns that format. Maybe people that are new to YouTube think that's the first person that's ever done that. No, most YouTubers read things off their phone, emails, things that people send to them, etc. So yeah, let's get to it. The first email that I have is from, I'm not going to say the last name, but Alan, and it's called My Sighting. We have property on the Pacific Ocean in a town that's well known for Bigfoot activity, to the point that police know of them and accept their existence. Early August, I was doing what I always did before going to bed, putting out the campfire, walking out to the road, and spotting deer in the grass and in the ditch area between the north and some bound lanes of the road. It was almost a full moon, and I was surprised that there were no deer. Usually there were about 10 to 20 deer eating in the grassy fields. I stood there for a while, just looking up and down the road, enjoying the stillness and quiet. Sorry guys, a lot of stuff isn't complete on this email, so I'm filling in the gaps and the spelling, but overall it's a fairly good email. I stood there for a while just looking. A large man caught my eye walking away from me, about 300 feet away. I've since went and measured it under a streetlight. It didn't seem that odd. People do walk around at night here. As I am watching him, he turned to his left and walked across the road and into the ditch. There was a cross street right there, but he chose to go through the ditch. Now what happened next is still hard for me to recount. I'm shaking and tearing up as I'm writing this. What came out of the ditch is burned into my brain. The man that went into the ditch came out on all fours and crawled across the road. I put it in my mind as a dog, but it wasn't. What came out of the ditch took up a whole lane of traffic, and it was 10 feet. It was massive, and it moved with a purpose, but it never looked at me. It just looked forward. I just watched it in disbelief, telling myself It was just a dog. Yeah, a dog that's 10 foot long and 3 foot tall while on its belly. The thing that walked upright into the ditch never came out, but I kept telling myself that it was probably a guy just walking his dog. One of the speakers at the Sasquatch Summit was talking about urban sightings in 2 areas in this state in particular, and I have a residence in both of those areas. As he was talking, he mentioned the spider crawl, and I lost it. The encounter came flooding back, and I started to cry. He stopped and asked if I had something to share. I tried. Lord knows I tried, but I couldn't get it out. I left the room for a while to figure out what the hell was going on with me. I did return and talked with a couple of people that were supportive and listened to my encounter. Anyways, that is what I saw coming out of the ditch. And I believe I interviewed this guy. He's from Washington State, I do believe, close to the coastal area. And yeah, he told me about his Bigfoot encounter. Basically, he was driving to his cabin, and he doesn't live there full time. And he saw something cross the road that was sprawled out 10 feet, and he thought it was a large dog at first, but of course no dog is that big, and it spider crawled across the road and down into the ditch, and that's when he saw it. He sent me a picture that somebody had sent to Wes from Sasquatch Chronicles, and it was a really good rendition of the creature. Definitely freaky. And yeah, the Sasquatch are known to crawl like spiders, and I believe that they move on all fours probably about 75% of the time, and it's not until they get much older that they walk bipedal all the time. So that's my belief. I believe that they're mainly on all fours, but I could be wrong. There's been a crap ton of Bigfoot sightings in the Washington State area, and apparently it's well known. People talk about it like it's no big deal. Oh yeah, I saw Bigfoot over there, and everybody starts talking about their Bigfoot stories, and it doesn't seem like people are out to ridicule you there. Seems like a really cool area to live in as far as being a Sasquatch knower. Alright, this next Bigfoot email was sent in by Cody, and like I said, I'm not going to give away his last name, but the title is Mark Twain National Forest, and we've heard that place before, haven't we? And if you guys follow the channel. Hello, my name is Cody. I'm 34 and an Ozarks native, born and raised. I'm a subscriber and enjoy your videos. I've been watching for a while. I've contemplated emailing you before, but just now decided to go ahead with it. I haven't told very many people about my experiences except for a small number of family or close friends, mainly because I've found that people laugh then ridicule me from then on, thinking I'm crazy or making it up, but I can assure you I most certainly am not. It happened a few years back, probably something like 7 or 8 years ago, but it's etched in my brain like it was yesterday. I grew up in the Mark Twain National Forest, literally just out my back door. There was times I would be in those woods every single day for a week in a row, either hunting, trapping, gathering mushrooms, horseback riding, side-by-side riding, or just exploring with my dog on foot. I've seen and heard some interesting things in those woods, but one evening really stands out. It was bow season, coming up on gun season, so late October, early November. As a friend of mine had just gotten back from his tour with the Marine Corps and wanted to go hunting, I took him to a spot I was very familiar with. I've killed deer, turkey, and a 400-pound wild hog, all on the same saddle on top of a ridge. I've also came face to face with multiple bears on different occasions in that same spot. We were sitting on the ground together that evening and had seen a few deer, but not close enough for a shot. The sun had just gone down below the tree line, and it was starting to get dark when all of a sudden everything in the woods went silent, abnormally silent, and a real creepy feeling set on us both. Then across the holler, as the crow flies, it was only 150 to 200 yards, if that. The loudest howl I've ever heard sounded off. Whatever made this howl was massive. It vibrated my bones and innards like a big subwoofer. Me and my buddy looked at each other, eyes as big as baseballs. Without saying a word, immediately we packed up our gear and marched all the way back to my truck without stopping, which was at least a mile, pretty well uphill the whole way. When we got to the truck, he looked at me out of breath, and his eyes were still as big as baseballs, and asked, "What the hell was that?" I said, "I don't know." I turned on the truck and we got the hell out of there. We were speechless for most of the ride back home. We tried dismissing it as a bear, fox, or bobcat, or even a big cat, but we both agreed it wasn't any of those. This thing had to be way bigger than any of those critters because of the sound it made. It sounded like a textbook Ohio howl, but with deeper bass, which I didn't know anything about at the time. It was very scary. The hairs still stand up on my arms and neck when I think about it. I've noticed odd tree structures in that area, and sometimes I have just had a weird feeling of being watched. Not always. It's an interesting area, big rocky outcroppings, caves, springs, and deep woolly hollers that I would dare to say has had very few people, if any, in them in years. One experience has changed me and the way I view our wilderness forever. I've had less significant experiences like knocks, rock clacking, and other things, but that one evening changed my life undoubtedly. I wouldn't mind taking you out there to camp out a night or just go out for a few hours and see what we hear. All right, Cody, I appreciate you sending in your email, and yeah, the Mark Twain is definitely a hot area for Bigfoot, and that's a spot that I do Bigfoot research in, and I've caught some strange vocalizations myself. Nothing that screams out Bigfoot for sure, but definitely some large animals, some woos that sound like people, and things mimicking dogs. I have recorded some rock clacking, some wood knocks, some limb breaking, and a really good tree break from that area. And I think I've called you before, or we've talked, and you told me that you'd take me up there. I'd definitely be interested. It'd just be hard to camp out without a person having a sighting, just because I get so many reports of people hearing things in the forest, and it's hard to go every single direction and just abandon my research areas. But I would definitely like to keep in touch if you find more things. If you ever have an experience or see one of the creatures, I definitely would like to come up there and talk about what you found. But yeah, I apologize about not being able to follow up with every single encounter and report, or every single experience, should I say. If it's an encounter, I'll definitely show up. But when it's just experiences, things that people hear, it's hard to follow up on that, just because maybe they were traveling through the area and they don't necessarily live there full time. There are places where these things are there every single day, it seems like. So those seem to be the areas that I gravitate towards. But it's nothing against you, and I'm sure it's a hot area, but like I said, it's just hard to go everywhere in Missouri. And yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your encounters with all of us. Man, the bugs out here are bad. Between the mosquitoes, ticks, spiders, and all the other critters, it's pretty nasty out here. I laid down my water bottle and my bag on some poison ivy, so shouldn't be too bad since I'm not allergic to it. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the drone footage. That actually took a lot of work. I'm not like the most intelligent person out there. I actually got really bad grades in school, so studying for that took a lot of work. And yeah, like I said, I'm just an average guy. I'm not someone out here trying to say I'm a lawyer. I was in law enforcement, so you guys should listen to what I have to say. It's not like that. I'm a regular person just like each and every one of you. I made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've done a lot of cool things in my life. I'm a hunter. I used to play music a lot. I'd play a lot of metal music. I was just into it at the time. It was, I don't know, I liked to be different at the time, and I felt like when I started playing guitar, a lot of the rock that I was playing was just too simple, repetitive, and it seemed like it was just another copy of another song. But when I started playing metal, it really reminded me of old-time piano like Beethoven and stuff, and it was a lot more technical, challenging. So it wasn't about being dark and I don't know, the screaming and the heaviness. It was just more about the methodical notes that were being used in a very smart pattern. Sorry, I couldn't think of the right words there. But no, here at my place, it's been kind of dead lately. I know they're out here just because when I went down the ridge not too long ago, I went to go check on this rock circle. Sasquatch placed a big rock down at the creek bottom bank and rocks surrounding that one big rock. But when I went down there not too long ago, all the rocks were thrown all over the place. It looked like somebody just kicked them around. So I don't know if it was the Sasquatch that did that, somebody that was trespassing, maybe armadillos, or somebody that I brought out here before got angry about something and came and destroyed it. I don't know. But I have a feeling that these creatures return. Like, they have strict trails that they stick to that stretch out really far out, way farther than any whitetail territory. And I feel like they come back to certain areas, and if they don't like something that went on in that area previously, they'll destroy the structures or remove whatever they put up to be a little bit more covert, I guess is the right word to say. But yeah, they're shy creatures. They may create structures and interact with people, but if you do it too much, they're going to back off. And one major thing I try to do with my areas is try to keep them private, and it's not to withhold information from you guys. And I'd like to share it just to keep people safe. You know, this is where I've seen something, but there's a lot of ridicule involved. And I hate to say it, there's a lot of weirdos that'll drive out to these areas and just start beaching up in the woods, which is really weird, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. I hate to say it, but like when city people find out about Bigfoot, they flock the woods religiously, and it gets kind of weird. I just kind of want to stay away from that and keep my areas safe from beaching people. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, I like to keep things private just for the sake of mushroom hunting, deer hunting, turkey hunting, interacting with the Sasquatch, and just having peace and serenity out in the forest. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. And I don't want to damage any of my areas. These creatures are very shy, and they will spook very easily. And the more people you bring to a Bigfoot area, I hate to say it, the worse it'll become. So don't start inviting a bunch of people. Just keep your close friends around, you know, your family, but don't turn it into a BFRO expedition area. That's my main goal with my research areas, just because I want to find stuff. I want to document stuff. I don't want to just give away my research. I hate to say that, but I don't want to give it away. And I don't want to charge people for it, but I've noticed in the past that I've mentioned certain things on my channel that no one else has mentioned. For example, like the statues in Egypt of Anubis. No one's ever really connected the dots of Dogman and those statues. When I first started the channel, I talked about that. I incorporated footage from Egypt. It wasn't my footage, but it was B-roll footage, and explained, don't you think it's a little odd that these people had dogmen and we have this over here? Same with, you know, in Europe with Little Red Riding Hood. Their stories are everywhere, but it seems like once I said that, people all over the internet were talking about the connection and how it's weird. And it just gets old because people will contact me and be like, hey, I heard somewhere, I seen somewhere on a YouTube channel that Dogman's connected to Anubis. Have you ever heard that? And I'm just like, yeah, I've heard that somewhere before. But it sucks that people have seen it on my channel and like associate it to bigger channels. I'm not going to say the names, but that's just how it is, because people are constantly emailing those bigger channels and they're watching my videos and they're just spreading the information out everywhere, which is cool, but there's some deep stuff that I know that I've decided not to put on the website, not even on the membership, because it's like people will just take it. So I have to like put it down in writing. I'm gonna have to make a book, not to make money, that's not the reason, but because I've noticed people will take your stuff and claim it to be theirs or someone else's, which gets old because I'm not doing this work to get notoriety or to get famous. But if I come up with something, it'd be cool if people were like, hey, Sasquatch Theory talked about this, and people actually remember the channel and they don't just blend every Sasquatch channel into one. But yeah, that's my little rant in the Bigfoot world. It's pretty quiet out here today. I'm loving it. The temperature's been awesome. I haven't been able to camp for a good while. It's just been really hard. My health has been horrible, and I've been focusing on that. I've had really bad gut health lately, so I've had to change a lot of big things in my life and completely do a 180. So yeah, I've been trying to eat better, exercise more, because sitting at a desk video editing all day is like, I don't know, it was like draining me to the point that I was losing weight. So I was like, all right, I got to get back out there. A lot of people say that when they see these creatures, it ruins the woods for them. And I kind of disagreed at first. It didn't ruin the woods for me. But as time went on, I've noticed it has changed the woods for me. I'm a lot more fearful of the woods. I view it differently. And I'm not fishing and hunting as much as I used to, because I'm always doing research and walking around the woods and doing things that involve the Bigfoot topic. And I've realized, like, oh my gosh, I'm not enjoying the woods anymore. Like, I'm not going out there fishing, kayaking. I'm not hunting peacefully. And I started looking back, hindsight, I guess. My encounters did ruin the woods, and I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. Like, I love hiking and looking for Bigfoot activity or anything like that, but I really enjoyed being out in the woods hunting. It was just like a different format of the outdoors that I enjoyed a lot more, because now it seems like I'm going through this area that used to be peaceful looking for a monster, and the fact that it's really hard to find stuff, it's just unsettling. So yeah, it has changed the woods for me, and I don't know, I wouldn't say it's for the better, but I believe that God has a plan and things will fall into place. Just like my channel, I feel like in the future things will fall into place and things will work out for the greater good, because right now I'm just getting a lot of ridicule. Like, I even have family members, like, when I see them, their kids are like yelling Bigfoot, 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 you know, and when I see them, they're like, how many Bigfoots you see today? And it's like, all right, just you. That's all I say, you know, just you. And it really pisses them off when I say, the only Bigfoot I've seen is you. That's the only one I've seen today. Do you guys ever get ridiculed like that? I think I get it more just because that's what I do, and people know me for Sasquatching, which really gets old. It's cool, but at the same time, not cool, because I would say 99, if not maybe 98% of people are skeptics. Even people that are open to it, they're like, yeah, I believe in UFOs. I don't know about Bigfoot. Later on, they quit talking to me. Like, they just cut ties and start ghosting me, which I get it. You know, people start thinking that I'm crazy, which I'll tell you right now, I'm the craziest son of a you've ever met. But at the same time, I know what I've seen, and I know the difference between pareidolia, seeing a shadow in the woods, and actually seeing a Sasquatch. I mean, I've placed a lot of heart shots on deer. Like, I didn't imagine that, so when I seen the creature that was only 40 yards away, I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw it. Just saying. Alright, let's get through these emails so I can get out of my kayak today and go fishing down at my friend's property on the Merrimack River. Alright, this next email is from Fredericktown, Missouri, and the writer is called, his name is Daniel. Greetings, Miguel. I am writing to describe an encounter that isn't real dramatic and is the only one I've ever had. I also had a few questions / comments. I grew up in St. Louis and have spent 30 years in the Missouri outdoors. Give me just a second. I am an avid fisherman, hiker, camper, shooter. I don't hunt, but I love target shooting. Before I describe the encounter, a few comments. If you are ever interested, I have heard of quite a bit of activity near Van Buren, Missouri. Yeah, I have too. I spend a lot of time near Fredericktown, camping and hiking. There is an unmarked trailhead called Lower Rock Creek off of Highway E, about 10 miles west of Highway 67. The main attraction, Lower Rock Creek, is absolutely gorgeous and only 1.5 mile hike from the trailhead. It's only a 1.5 mile hike from the trailhead, sorry. There's an additional 7 miles of trail, old logging roads, that creates a loop back to the trailhead, not to mention a vast forest and a lot of hills. If you're doing research or not, and if you enjoy hiking, you really should visit the area. Perhaps you already know this. In your last video, you were near a shooting range. You certainly don't have to answer this, but was this a Missouri Conservation Area shooting range? With all of the pines, I was guessing Little Indian Creek Conservation Area, but there are too many. Yeah, I'm not going to give it away, and all the areas that you mentioned are hot with Bigfoot activity, and when you look at it from a map point of view, there's just so much land, so many waterways, that they could be anywhere. So you guys should be looking. You guys should go out to all these spots and explore, and let me know what you guys find. And here's a good fun fact for you guys today. Did you guys know that Missouri has 52,000 miles of river? And that's all the waterways and running creeks. 52,000 miles, if not more, of running water. So the Sasquatch can be anywhere within that location. So you guys are all free to look in any of these areas, and I encourage you guys to do so. Bring someone along. Be sure that you're armed. Make sure you know where you're going, and be safe. But yeah, let's return back to the email. Anyway, my only experience that I would call an encounter happened at the Lane Spring Campground south of Rolla. Oh, I know where that is. On a side note, somewhere near there is an area described as Paranormal Highway. I've been all over that area, the current river, and I think they're referring to Highway 72. Yeah, I know about Paranormal Highway. Sorry to stop again, but yeah, I know about that highway. The researcher that has investigated that area, he's a chiropractor from Salem, Missouri, and I can't remember his name, but I think if you Google Lee Emmerich Paranormal Highway, Rolla to Salem, Missouri, it'll pop up and you'll find him. But yeah, it's a hot area. There's been, UFOs that have crashed near that area in St. James, Missouri. That was on MUFON. I think it's called Hangar 1 UFO Files on Hulu. Yeah. But anyways, I'm close to that area, and there's a lot of paranormal activity around there. So watch out, guys. I've been all over the area along the Current River, and I think the area they are referring to is Highway 72. I was with a friend and both of our dogs. We were camping right on the water. The area is the Little Piney Creek. At dusk, we heard a commotion coming across the river. No more than 30 yards away, we see 4 deer that suddenly ran across the stream towards us. Funny thing was that the dogs saw them and didn't react, nor did the deer. They stood in that spot for a good 10 minutes and were very aware of our presence. We didn't think much of it, and eventually they wandered off. About 30 minutes later, it was dark, and we decided to take a night hike along the stream to Lane Spring. It was only about a half-mile hike. We did take note of how quiet it was, so we bushwhacked along the stream, admired the spring, and looped back along the road. No more than 5 minutes into our hike, something huge splashed into the water. I thought maybe an overhanging tree limb fell, but it didn't sound like that. It sounded like a rock. It was so loud both dogs were startled. I turned my flashlight towards the area. It was really brushy and it was so hard to see, but I could see the ripples on the water. No more than 30 seconds later, it happened again. My buddy and I talked. We thought maybe there was a hill on the other side and a rock slid down, but it was too flat. Even if there was a hill, the odds are very slim. We just kept going and joked about Bigfoot. Don't get me wrong, I do believe in them, as well as my friend. I didn't get any spooky intuitions as this happened, or a feeling that we were being watched. But the facts appeared to be the following. Something spooked those deer and they took refuge next to us, which is odd. The dogs reacting was odd as well. Then the splashes, which was incredibly loud. Now that we spent time watching more material on cryptids, UFOs, and David Paulides and the missing 411, we plan to go out to some of these new areas. I'm curious. Maybe I better be careful what I wish for, but it's in my gut. Sorry this was so long-winded. If you ever want information on Lower Rock Creek, feel free to ask. The directions there aren't tricky, but it's all unmarked once you're off the highway. Thank you for your time, and I will continue to follow your material. I hope you do, because I think I've contacted you before, and you told me about what you experienced, where it was at, and yeah, again, I just haven't had time to follow up with every single person and every single area. But if someone has an encounter, I would be glad to go there and camp in that area for sure. It's just hard to camp everywhere, but yeah, that does sound like Bigfoot activity, especially the rock splashing in the water, the deer running and staying close to you guys without running away. That is unusual. And the fact that you guys heard something big in the woods, that does point towards Sasquatch, and I do think that's what that was. When the Sasquatch were around here, there was a deer that was coming out into the yard, and it had a broken front leg, like it was just snapped, dangling off, but it would come into the front yard and just stand there and look at me. It wouldn't run away, and I thought that was odd. And the deer would just stand and look behind. It would stand there, look at me, and look behind. Let me know if that's what the deer were doing when you ran into them. Were they looking behind them? And I'm assuming this was probably in the summertime when you were down there, so it wasn't rutting season for the deer. So that is unusual. And yeah, I do appreciate you sharing your Bigfoot experience with me and all the viewers. And sorry it took so long to read your Bigfoot email, but yeah, now that I have a new format, I'm just going to start doing this, guys. It's a lot easier to read emails this way, and it's really difficult, like I said, to sit inside all day, especially when it's really nice out. There's a lot going on, and you're running around looking for Bigfoot. But yeah, I appreciate everybody for listening, and we'll move on to the next Bigfoot email. All right, moving on to the next Bigfoot email. This email was submitted by Vicky, and it's from the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. Hello, I just found your YouTube channel and I am loving every minute of it. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. It really does. I've been watching your videos between all the construction going on here, and I just wanted to take a minute and say you're right. They're real. I've seen them. I've seen a toddler Sasquatch. I live in a small town on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. And most of our small town residents on the peninsula are aware of their existence. People will protect their privacy and avoid letting outsiders come in and cause any disturbance for the creatures. I know our transit driver leaves food out for them and even plays classical music on the radio for them. Not when Bigfoot is on the bus, of course. But when the driver goes to his home in the woods, I know of other families that go out and gift with them. Loggers have even etched a foot symbol on these big metal gates on the logging roads in honor of them. I have seen an area in the middle of nowhere where you have to four-wheel drive to a muddy area where there are tiny footprints all over the place, almost like it was a safe area where they could take offspring to play. Almost like a daycare. The Olympic Peninsula is truly a safe haven and a loving place for them to be. I'm 54 now, but I was in my early 20s when I encountered my first two. They were about 10 feet away from me. It was Mom and her little toddler. And they were standing by a bunch of blackberry bushes about noon in the summertime, and it was a beautiful blue sky day. My husband was an avid hunter, and he was looking down for any bear prints, and I just happened to look up and they just calmly walked away, and the first thought that came to me was, my God, they are real. Okay, I have to stop right there. When I saw the juvenile and even the bigger one, it was a beautiful day like this. Clear blue sky, just a beautiful day to be alive. And when I seen the juvenile, those were my first words. My God, they are real. And I kept saying that, oh my God, they are real. Like, that was so cool. You know, they're real. So I believe you 100%. And I listened to Bob Gimlin's interview about what he filmed, and that's what he said. My God, they're real. And for some reason, when your brain locks up and you see these creatures eye to eye, you're going to say the same thing. Okay, so let's go back to the story. My husband was an avid hunter, and he was looking down for any bear prints, and I just happened to look up, and they were just calmly walking away, and the first thought that came to me was, my God, they're real. And my heart was pounding. Also, there's a tribal place called Big Rock that if you climb up, you can look down on the towns. Every spring, a howling can be heard from that area right when it gets dark and lasts for about 4 hours. It sounds a lot like what a Neanderthal would sound like. The locals hear it and sit out on the porches and listen to it howl. We know someone who even lives close by to the base of Big Rock, and we ask her and her family, "Doesn't that bother you?" And her funny comeback was, "Oh yeah, Mr. Bigfoot is up there every night calling for a female. It goes on every spring." So I just wanted to share these things with you because you've been working so hard, and I personally appreciate all the work you do. And I find Bigfoot fascinating. Someday we're going to know more about Bigfoot because people like you that get out there diligently, working hard to bring acknowledgement to everyone. Sorry, I'm not a very good reader. Like I said, I got bad grades in school, so sorry guys. My voice is very monotone. I sound just like the Clear Eye guy, so I apologize guys. So yeah, the Olympic Peninsula is a very active place for Bigfoot sightings and encounters. Our family is planning on getting back out there looking for them after we're done with construction on our property. Take care, God bless, and all the best to you, Mike, Vicky, and Sarah. Mike, Vicky, and Sarah, I really appreciate you guys. That was an awesome email to read, and that really touched my heart. I don't even know what to say right now, just because a lot of times I get experiences and not so many times I get an encounter, so that really means a lot. And I think I've reached back out to you to try to get you on the show, and I understand it's hard for people to get on the show sometimes, and you guys got stuff going on, so I really appreciate you guys listening, especially Mike and Sarah. Vicky, you're awesome for sending in the encounter. And yeah, Washington State is a very hot area for Bigfoot. I can't tell you guys how many times people have contacted me from Washington. That was a little weird. I heard something crash through the woods over there, and earlier when I was reading, I heard something over here several times. But yeah, I mean, we're in the area where I've had Bigfoot encounters, and this isn't the most remote area. I mean, there's a lot of woods around here, but I'm pretty close to town. But if you guys have listened to How to Hunt, he talks about how these creatures are really getting close to populated areas, and it continues happening every year. They just keep coming. So we're going to hear more stories from people in populated areas, but I don't know. It's a thing, guys. Beware. But yeah, I replied to Vicky's email about her encounter and how she saw the little ones, and this was her reply, because I tried to get her to come on the show, and this is what she said. Now for the fun stuff, the first part I'd like to talk about is the descriptions of the 2 Bigfoots I saw. One was an adult, the other was a toddler. It could have been mom and baby, or father and son, who knows. So it was just 2 individuals, a bigger one and a smaller one, most likely a mother and a juvenile. But yeah, let's get into it. They had long cinnamon brown hair on them, really long hair. The toddler, you could see the white skin underneath, and you could already see the muscle definition, and the term built like a shit brick house comes to mind. He had a lot of hair, but also patches missing, like it was growing in, and you could see his tushy area, which was very human. The adult had the longest legs I've ever seen and was full of hair, no skin visible. It was a side view when they started walking away from me, so I didn't see their eyes or face. But I was so busy looking at other things like their arms and legs, and they had calmly walked away. The adult first in front and the toddler just a few steps behind, following the parent. It was like they stepped into another dimension because where they were headed, There was nothing there but ground, and they just disappeared in front of my eyes, gone. I never seen a single soul except for my husband because I didn't want people to think I was crazy. I didn't read that right. I never told a single soul except for my husband because I didn't want people to think I was crazy. And I also felt a need to protect them. I didn't want anyone bugging them or harassing them. These recent years, I'm just now sharing, and more people are coming forward nowadays with their experiences, so I feel a lot more comfortable sharing my own experiences, and I feel less alone. Alright, so I did talk to Vicky a little bit. She emailed back and she said that they were both a brown color, a cinnamon color, and they had really long hair. She said she didn't get a good look at the face, the eyes, and she just caught a side profile of them walking away, and she said it seemed like they just disappeared. But that's a common thing that people talk about, is seeing these things cross a road or seeing them close to a roadway. And also people say that they've encountered them and they just disappeared, which is also strange. They are like, it does seem like they're wearing a human ghillie suit, so they could easily disappear into the brush, but people have claimed that they've just seen them vanish into thin air, so that's also something to consider. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the email story. Sorry that I was talking real slow. I was getting distracted by all the bugs, and it's my first time using Word on my phone, so I kept touching things and messing things up. I apologize. I'm getting ready to go back to the office and interview a lady from Ironton County, Missouri, and I believe her and her daughter had an encounter. I think it's another roadside encounter, so it should be really interesting, and you guys will hear it on the channel if it turns out to be a good encounter and everything turns out, you know, to be legit. But yeah, I'm gonna pack things up, go back in there, interview this person, hopefully get out on the river, do some fishing, and look around the waterways. I appreciate everyone for watching the channel and listening to Sasquatch Theory. If you guys enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. If you guys thought it sucked, let me know down in the comments. Thanks. Take care.